Welcome, friends, to the Spooky Chris podcast. My name is Chris Ringler. I'm an author and strange fella from mid-Michigan. And this is my little podcast, episode 40-something. I'm losing track. 40-something, 8 maybe, something like that. Hopefully you found your way here via my website, spookychris.com, where you can find all the awesome info about my books and my blogs and my stuff about my short films I've made and all that fun stuff. If you didn't, then bless your heart. You can find all that information about me at spookychris.com, etc., etc. So I started the other day with stories, kind of weirdo stories. So I thought I would get to my other... we all have our stories that are kind of our brand, kind of the stuff that everybody knows us from, like, oh my gosh, I gotta tell you my funny, crazy story. Well, so I have my own funny, crazy stories, and this is one of the core ones, and it is true. I swear it's true. So once upon a time, a long time ago, when I was 18, I was in high school, and I happened to see an article about, gosh, I don't even know if it was me. It might have been my mom. But an article in the local newspaper about our local community college doing a horror film class. I was all into that. So I kind of looked into it, and I got permission from my school to take the class. It was a night class, and I got, was able to take it as a high school senior. So I had to go and I had to take an entrance exam, which is funny. So I never took an SAT or ACT is the other one. I never took one. I took that entrance test, and when I was done with high school, I went right into the community college. And I had never been a good student. For a half a dozen reasons. That's a whole other tale. That's not something that's worth telling. But I had terrible grades, and in college I kind of upped my game a little and got into the University of Michigan Flint and got my degree there. So I never took SAT, ACT, which is always makes me laugh to myself. So, I took the test, everything was fine, so I took the class. Super odd guy, the teacher, very odd gentleman. And it was funny because it was horror film, but we barely broke into color films. I can't even remember what the newest movie would have been, but he just had zero interest in modern horror, like zero. Like it should have been Universal horror, basically, because that was his thing, and then kind of a few outliers like Freaks and maybe Night of the Living Dead. But that was his, it was his class. He showed what he wanted. It was just to call it the horror film was a misnomer. He taught from a great book. I still have the book, and it was kind of it's basically, when I was a kid, you were a movie fan, you would get these kind of guides, movie guides. I still have Leonard Maltin's 2003 movie guide. I'm looking at it right now. And you'd get it and have all the movies that came out that, you could almost think of, and it would have ratings and like a synopsis. And this was, just for horror. And it was a great resource to kind of look stuff up and go, oh, wow, I've never heard of that. I want to see that. So it was a cool book, and I still have it. So I got in class, took the class, had a great time, met a new friend there who I still have to this day. Made some new friends in general there. It was cool. So the final project was either I swear to God, it was just a 20-page paper, which to me now, as a 45-year-old man who is a writer by nature, I kind of laugh at the idea of a 20-page paper because that's nothing. But it was a 20-page paper or a short film. Now, me and my friends made short films all the time. We improvised them. We would just we started with a PXL 2000, which was a Fisher Price thing. You can still find them if you look them up. And you shot on audio cassettes. It's pretty cool, pretty crazy. You could shoot for 5 minutes. My friend had one of those. We shot on that for a while. And then I got a video camera and we shot on that. And it was pretty much, we had kind of a general idea of what the story was. And then we just kind of made it up as we went along. That's what we did, improv. Ridiculous stuff, absolutely embarrassing stuff that you kind of do at that age when you don't really know the whole world and you're just kind of like think everything's real funny. But we had fun and we thought, oh, no big deal. So my friend at the time, wrote this script, and it's a fun script. Like, it's a fun script. Even the movie is pretty fun. I always, we finished the movie, so it doesn't matter. But I've always wanted to kind of go back and edit it better. And just, there's scenes that are just too long, and it doesn't need to be as long as it is. It could be shorn up. But the fun little story about a mopey kid, me, who has a kind of rocky relationship with his sister. His sister gets killed in a car accident by, with her shitty boyfriend. Oh my gosh, I swore. I apologize. I've been trying not to swear on here. Jeez Louise. Sorry. So, with her horrible boyfriend. And I am so obsessed with her, and I started seeing her and imagining her, and I go to dig her up and run into a serial killer, and we decided to become best friends, and we dig her up, and then we are going to go off on and have an adventure together. And that was the prologue to the first buddy slasher film. Super funny title, really clever writing. Like, my friend back then, I haven't talked to him in 20 years, 30 years, 25 years. But brilliant. He was a brilliant guy, and it was a brilliant script. And I acted in it, and I was horrible. I was super nervous, and I have a terrible memory. I've always had a terrible memory. And super stiff acting. I would be much better now. Again, though, I was like 17, 18, super awkward. A friend I met during the filmmaking, like, she was so angry at me because I was so bad, and she memorized the whole script and was all ready, and I was not. And I'm just, even today I still wouldn't be ready. Now who I am, I guess. So we shot it, and it was fun, and we had a great time. Before I get to the heart of the story, so long story short, so we get it done. Needed my new friend from from school to edit it, and needed it. And I was going away. It was due, and I was going to go away on spring break with my friend. We were going to go to Florida with another guy, and never got to finish. Movie finished and got a incomplete or an F or whatever in the class. Retook it, edited the movie. Blah blah blah. I think we got a B or something. But I had to take class again, which is just a drag. C'est la vie. So, and again, this was a long time ago, so it was, editing was, I remember asking for my birthday, an editing thing from Sharper Image. And we used it for the one movie and never used it again. I think I gave it to somebody because I just didn't know how to figure it out, how to use it. Editing is much easier now. Even if it's still archaic, to me, it's easier than it was. So anyway, so we're shooting this movie, and we shot like late nights. Shot at a playground. We had to shoot that a couple times in the winter, where I'm pretending to get drunk, and like I had a goatee, and I'm like pouring water into my mouth, like I'm drinking vodka, and my beard started to freeze, and it was funny. And we shot. Like, we got super lucky with the movie. We shot, my friend lived just down from a fire station, and he just went down there one day when we were shooting and was like, hey, can you guys help us with this movie? So for the car crash scene, he brilliantly put saran wrap all over the windshield and then fake blood, so it looked like, in shooting through the inside, it looked like the windshield's crashed, like cracked. We got an ambulance, a sheriff's car, all these kind of techs. Like, it was great. It looked great. We shot in a funeral home. Again, he just asked and he got. I don't think they'd allow that anymore. So we shot a lot in there. It freaked them out, I guess, because in the one scene, the girl, my quote-unquote sister, sits up in the coffin, and they weren't real big fans of that. So we got real lucky on the movie. We shot in the one small towns near us, like at night down the streets and stuff, and nobody said boo, nobody bugged us. So while we're shooting, so we shot, and we shot in this cemetery for the ending. We had like a fake picnic in this cemetery at night. And, we scouted it, and there was these big, deep gullies, and I was scouted with my friend, and, there was a fresh grave, and it kind of was, exciting and freaked us out. And we were kind of looking around, and I kind of wanted to run through the gullies and stuff and be all kind of crazy because I was 17 and full of energy. So, we go and we shoot the movie. So we shoot scenes and stuff, and everybody kind of wanders off towards the front because they're getting ready to kind of tear down and go home. So I'm hanging out there, so I got the shovel in my hand because I was pretending to dig her up. And off in the distance, I see a light. And the way the cemetery is there's a newer section and a quote-unquote older section. And the newer section is divided with a hedgerow. So I see kind of a light past the hedgerow, and that was very strange, like a whitish light. So naturally, I was like, ooh, I'm going to go see what that is, because that's always the brightest thing to do. So I headed off that way to go see what it was. And so I go, and I'm walking with the shovel over my shoulder, and I go kind of step over the hedgerow, and I'm looking, I don't see anything, I don't see a light. And I hear rustle, rustle, rustle. And I look around, and I hear rustle, 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 as if some shrubs or something are moving. And I don't know what's going on. So I look around again, I look, and I see a skunk. Skunk and I lock eyes. Skunk books it towards me. I freak out, run away, leap over the hedgerow in my awkwardly tight jeans, run as fast as I can to the front of the place, trying to just outrun the devil himself. Get to so they had the gates closed, but you could walk around the gates kind of into a little forest. Go around the gate, through the little forest thing, and out to where the car was parked. There's a cop car that had just pulled up. I come around the corner, holding a shovel. The guy who's the killer is pissing into the forest, dressed up in a jumpsuit with a big fake hippie beard. And then the guy who was directing it and a girl that was in the movie are standing there. And I take the shovel and I have to go whoop, and throw it nonchalantly into the woods. And the cops didn't give us a hassle at all. They wanted to know what we were doing, why we were out there, wanted to know how old we were. They checked our IDs and said, well, we know who you guys are. So if anything happens out here, we know who we are. And we're like, okay. So we packed it up and left. So the girl had been with us that day. She's in the movie briefly as a friend of mine. And I always forget that because we have one scene together, and then you see her walking, and then it's insinuated that the serial killer gets her and kills her. Because she's walking, and then this guy, serial killer has a van, and he's following her, and then, she disappears. So one of the nights we were filming, she tells us she was followed home by someone in a van, and it freaked her out. And we were like, whew, that is scary. It's weird. So we go along, finish the movie, everything's great, have a great old time. Well, not long after, the news hits that they've found 2 bodies. And again, my memory is not great, so you'll have to forgive me, but I thought they found them in the gullies at that cemetery, but it was on the property of the cemetery. Again, I think it was in one of the gullies. And they found the bodies of 2 young girls who had disappeared recently. And I remember driving by and seeing national news there. It made national news. It was crazy. So we were just couldn't believe what was happening. It was nuts. Not long after, they caught a man named Leslie Allen Williams, who was a Michigan man who had abducted these 2 young girls, and I want to say they were sisters, and had murdered them. And he is currently, in jail for the rest of his life. And it's strange to think that we were filming this movie about a serial killer while there was one in our city. And while we were that close to these dead bodies. And it's very strange, and it gives you a bit of a chill To think we might have just shy of crossed paths with him at some point. We just don't know. We don't know his timeline compared to when we were doing stuff, so it's very strange. And that's, I think, probably in my silly little life, my big story. I've had a lot of little stories, but that's my big story. But I thought I would pass it along, dear listener, as a early spring chill. Hopefully you're surviving this pandemic and are doing the best you can and staying safe and healthy. I always have books for sale in my haunted bookstore on spookychris.com. I've written about 20 books. Anything from kids' books to fantasy to straight up horror. So there's probably something that you might dig. So feel free to take a check. I'm always looking for readers, always looking for listeners. You take care of yourself, friend, and I'll talk to you soon.